It's time for the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams is the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics. Duquesne travels to Youngstown State this Saturday for its third straight away game to start the year, the longest away stretch to start a season since 2017. The Duquesne Dukes battled a pair of FBS teams to open the season, falling to Toledo and Boston College on the road. Youngstown State picked up its first win of the year, downing Valparaiso 59-25 after falling to Villanova in the opener. Saturday's game will be a rematch of the first round of the 2023 FCS playoffs. YSU came out on top in the playoff matchup 40-7, scoring 30 unanswered points after the Dukes made it 10-7 in the first quarter. This is the third straight year the Penguins and Dukes are facing off and seventh all-time meeting. YSU quarterback Bo Brungard will be a focus for the Duquesne defense, totaling 6 touchdowns in the first 2 games, 3 rushing, 3 passing. Duquesne is a top-ranked quarterback of its own, with 2023 Walter Payton Award finalist Darius Parentis leading the offense. The Dukes have not been shut out in back-to-back weeks ever as a D1 program. That was the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams is the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics. And welcome back to the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. Tim Benz along with Jerry Schmitt, brought to you by Cordia. Cordia, creating energy solutions. Brought to you by UPMC and the UPMC Health Plan, the official healthcare provider of Duquesne Athletics. Jerry, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Tim.
Trip up to Boston College, a team from the ACC. Final score is 56-0, and that was a team that is now ranked in the top 25 after beating Florida State the week before. How do you feel your guys handled those circumstances? How do you think the team handled going into that environment?
Well, I told them at halftime, and I told them after the game, I was very proud of them. The way they played, the effort that they put forth, the intensity. They continue to play for 60 minutes. Obviously, we're playing an FBS team, so there's some challenges there with our guys. But across the board, we were getting hats to the football on defense. We were chasing the ball. We were pursuing. Obviously, we could execute a few things better. But sometimes you get in those situations and you're playing guys of that talent. You stress yourself and you try to do some things that maybe you shouldn't. And I think we'll learn from that. We'll certainly get better from it playing at that level.
To that end, is that where some of the big plays on offense came from Boston College?
Well, you know, we were in position for some of those plays. They've got really talented guys. Mm-hmm. It's why they're FBS, and they will be ranked shortly. Guarantee that. We've played a number of those teams, and I think Coach O'Brien will do a great job and get those guys in the top 25. But they're talented guys. We're in position. They made plays and we didn't.
As you move forward into Youngstown State this week, you look at the collective. Let's start on offense. Where have you seen growth so far in the first two games?
I think we executed our assignments a little bit better. We probably were stressed a little bit. And it's hard when you're playing teams like this because you have to do some things a little bit different that you might not have the time that you would. I said this after the game, in the pocket. We did a good job with protection, picking up the blitzes. Schematically, we understood. But when we're going against bigger and faster guys like that, sometimes that pocket closes a little quicker. And I thought Darius was a little bit stressed in that situation.
How about the run game, not having Taj Butts? How do you think you guys adjusted in that regard?
We had some good runs, some solid runs. I thought our guys held their own, getting some positive yardage. Had a couple TFLs there that we wouldn't have liked to see, but I thought with those guys, Sean did a good job. He's a downhill kid, he knows his assignments. He's learning. He's a redshirt freshman. It's just his second year with us, and so he stepped in there and he plays hard. He knows his assignments on protections. So we'll get these guys cranked up, ready to go.
Noah Canty, I know that's a loss at tight end. You guys were excited about what he could bring, this transfer from Stonehill. How is he doing emotionally after that injury, and how do you guys backfill while he's out?
He's got great teammates that were with him. It was very tough on the sideline. A lot of guys disappointed because he's endeared himself to this football team when he got here. In January, and well-liked, a really good football player. So it's going to be tough for him. I talked to him, a couple times this week, and he's going to get through it, focus on his academics and his rehab.
I know you've had some moving pieces along the offensive line. How do you feel those guys have melded when you've had what you hope to be your first unit out there together?
Being down, we were down 3 starters from what we came out of camp with. So a couple of those guys filled in some roles and did a good job, solid job. They're getting better. Some of the younger guys are getting better. The new guys like Aaron Gunn's new, getting used to the system. So I thought they worked pretty good. Obviously it's a big challenge. They got a really good defensive front.
Yeah.
Really good. And so they challenged us, but that's going to help us get better.
What about Darius's relationship with the wide receivers? How is that coming along on the field?
I think it's really good. Like I said, they had a good defense and good defensive backs, and
got a couple that are NFL prospects back there.
A couple of prospects that our guys were excited about going against, and so I think if we keep getting better and use that in a positive way, I think that's going to continue with Darius and those guys. And I know the first game he had it with Irby, but him and Teddy do really good in practice, and we'll get some games here where those guys will get in sync.
To the point about going up against guys who might be playing on Sundays, there's a couple of those guys along the offensive line for Boston College, too. What you think about how your front did against that competition?
I was real happy with them. Like I said, they're getting a lot of hats to the ball, pursuing. We got a 3 and out the first time and put them in a little bit of bad field position there a couple times. And really, they made big plays. And if you're holding them down in the run game or containing them in the run game, I thought we did a pretty good job of containing. Had a few cracks, pursued the ball, got them down on the ground. If you make teams drive like that, they're going to make mistakes at times and not be able to sustain drives. But when they hit you with the big plays, there's not a lot the front guys can do.
Following up on that, I know against Florida State they ran the ball like crazy. Do you think it was an agenda on their part to try to work on the passing game this week to incorporate that so they can sharpen their skills in that regard?
I don't know what their plan is for moving forward. Obviously, it's like us. It's non-conference. They're going to try to get better in all aspects of the game. And so I don't know what their plan was. We're just worried about ourselves.
How about against Youngstown State? You're going up against a quarterback who could really run. He put up some big numbers last time up against Valpo. I think he accounted for 5 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, and 192 yards of rushing, I believe, against Valpo. What are you going to see from them, do you think, and what do you draw on from having faced the Penguins the past couple of seasons?
Yeah, they're different. They changed a little bit staff-wise, and I think they had a lot of transition through the portal. So it's a different team. Still that Youngstown tradition, tough working team, and we'll have to contain that quarterback. But that was our plans last week.
Yeah.
So we're used to that. we'll try to get him contained and make him drive the ball down the field and make some bad decisions in the pass game.
Well, if that's sort of a through line there, if you were thinking that way against Boston College last week, I mean, is it an apples-to-apples comp with these guys, or was Castellanos' ability to run more about, scrambling, improvising, and are they a little bit more at Youngstown with run guard, more about just giving the ball and say, go find a hole and run?
Yeah, they probably more design plays with him, and so we've got those down. We've scouted them out, and we'll be ready for those.
Is there anybody that leans on their quarterback rushing this much that you'll face in the NEC, do you think? Is this a primer for anybody else that you might see down the line?
Teams change.
Yeah.
I don't know what each team is doing right now. I mean, we check their stats, we break down their films, but that's down the line.
Last thing, big picture, Jerry, how do you feel like these 3 games are going to tee you up for conference play?
I'm really happy with the way our guys are approaching this. This is a big challenge to start the season. First of all, 3 games on the road. I'm happy with the way they're working and practicing. I don't see any drop-off. They're staying positive. They're following the 24-hour rule. Regardless of what happens, they're getting back to work. I really like the way this team is, and they're going to keep getting better. And if we do that, we'll have a chance moving forward.
I would imagine, too, that having done this the past couple of years, played against these FBS schools, especially for people like Kevin Kurzanger, for instance, who's going to join us in a little bit, they can preach to the kids who have not been through this before that there is a difference between the FBS competition and what you're going to see in the NEC. So stick with the program, stick with the plan. If it's not manifesting the first couple of weeks against Toledo and Boston College, that doesn't mean there's fundamental flaws or issues. You play through it and you get ready for the conference season.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You've got to improve yourself and get better and better and better and better. It doesn't matter who you're playing. If you don't play at the best of your ability, you're not going to have a chance. So yes, those experiences and his experience will help tell these guys stay with it, stick with it. But, in the end, we've just got to keep worrying about ourselves and keep getting better each week.
All right, Jerry, thanks a bunch. Really appreciate it. Best of luck against Youngstown State this weekend.
Appreciate it, Tim.
All right, Jerry Schmitt, head coach of the Duquesne Dukes here on the Duquesne Football Coaches Show. Thank you for joining us. Again, Jerry, brought to us by Cordia creating energy solutions. Just mentioned it, Kevin Kurzanger coming up next here on the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. Time now for an interview with Kevin Kurzanger. It's brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools, inspiring hope through education and treatment. Back on the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show, Tim Benz with you. Glad that you're with us as the Dukes get ready for a game against Youngstown State. Kevin Kurzanger joining us right now, senior defensive lineman for the Dukes. Kevin, how you doing? Thanks for taking time to join us.
No problem. I'm good. How are you?
As far as the games so far, you've played up against a couple of FBS schools in Toledo and Boston College. What have you learned about where the team is going up against competition like that?
Well, we learned that there are levels to football, but at the same time, we just kind of have to go into every game thinking that we have a fighting chance as long as we do what we need to do, work on our assignment, alignment, keys, and just move the ball around defensively, offensively, and special teams-wise.
Especially for you guys up front, and we were speaking before the cameras started to roll about the size of Boston College's offensive line. There's a couple kids up front with that team that have dads who played in the NFL. They're legacy players. Another guy is a potential NFL draft choice. They got down to the third-string left guard who's 6'7", 323. So when you guys play against size like that, what do you learn about your own fundamentals that you can then apply once you get into NEC play?
We just have to really be in hone with our skills that we learned throughout camp. We're really big on technique and moves that we have to use hand-wise and just speed to power and stuff like that. So it's more so just reiterating what we were doing during camp. But, I mean, going against competition like that, you don't see that every day at this level. So it's nice to be able to see that some stuff works against those teams, and then taking into NEC play and FCS play, it just shows that it'll work at any level. You just have to be able to execute at a high level.
As a group, how are you feeling about the defensive line so far?
I feel great. I mean, we had a good game up front. I know it didn't show it on the stat book maybe, but going back through film, we saw great things from both interior and the end positions.
I know you guys lost a couple of good players in Lopez and Palmer. They're very important to you guys last year. How have you backfilled this year, and who are some of the young up-and-comers that you think are starting to show out as the season has gone along so far?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely lost a few guys. Those two, and most importantly, were definitely big-time players for us. But I think me and Ackerman being back was a big step in, and then Jack Dunkley stepping up and J-Pat stepping up. Those two kind of play hand-in-hand with each other. So one has one skill set, one has another skill set, and then me and Ackerman in the middle just being able to kind of use our force to make teams do what we want to do. I think we have a good step up front.
Well, I think that's a good point because you two guys coming back, it's almost like you're adding two new recruits. It's sort of like after a hockey season or a baseball season when the trade deadline passes and you get an injured player back. It's like another acquisition. You guys are kind of in that realm. To that end, how has your recovery gone since you got hurt last year early against West Virginia?
It's gone good. I mean, I had a rotator cuff tear my sophomore year, so I kind of dealt with another shoulder injury back then, but this one healed up like twice as fast. So I was hoping to get back last season at the end of the season, but there was some medical stuff that went on that I couldn't come back. So I felt great going out of the season, and then going into spring ball, I felt great. Ackerman was working his way through his ankle injury through spring ball, and when we got to summer camp and camp time, it was like we were back to 100%.
You guys have had to go through this before. I think it's the nature of playing up in these early season games against FBS schools where you have a game plan, you have a depth chart, you have an idea how things are going to go, and then sometimes that just gets blown out because you're playing up against bigger, stronger competition. What is that like for the coaches, and what is it like for the players to have to be light on your feet in that regard and adjust the game plan based on what the personnel is by the time the conference season rolls around?
Yeah, I think from a coach's perspective, they do a great job of just letting us know how things are going to play out, how things should play out, how we should move, how we should feel things out, and really just putting together a game plan that is going to be successful at the end of the day. I mean, no coach is going to be able to tell you this is going to happen at this point, this is going to happen at that point, but they're just going to prepare you as much as they can and kind of get things into the right place. Like, we'll play different coverages based off of teams, and we put plays in on Monday and Wednesday of every week just to game plan for certain teams. So going into Boston College and Toledo, we definitely put stuff in the week of that was going to help us out more than what we put in during camp for just NEC play.
Does some of that come back perhaps in NEC play? Do you dodge some of that in then throughout?
Yeah, we'll just clean some stuff up and go back through and kind of game plan week to week.
One thing I was wondering about, going back to the Toledo game, actually, that first game of the year, on that first drive specifically and a couple more times throughout the contest, they played with tempo. They got up to the line. They hurried up. That's a real challenge, it looks like, for Gianni Rizzo, who's your hub of communication in the middle of the defense. How did he handle it that night, and how does he handle stuff like that, get you guys aligned in the right place?
I think that night was a real tell for us how we play as a defense, and we definitely didn't expect to be tempoed like that. So going out of that game, it was kind of just worried, but going into the next week into Boston College, we definitely had play calls set up and everything so we could get set and do what we do, not worry about getting play calls in at the last second and having people moving. So we just went in, kind of changed our game plan a little bit and got everything settled so we didn't have to move around as much and be frustrated just trying to get a call on the field.
Against BC, you saw a team the previous week go to Tallahassee, beat a top 10 team in the country, and do so largely by running the football. I think that 269 yards rushing on the night against the Seminoles. And then they came in against you guys, and certainly the run game was there. They used a lot of their running backs, as they have a pretty good stable of backs. But it seemed to be an agenda on their part, too, to get their passing game working, to work on that, advance the ACC season. Were you anticipating that, or were you anticipating kind of them trying to stick with the run game again after what you saw against the Seminoles?
I really think that looking back on who we've played in the past, their running back, Ward, who was at Florida State before that, we played him when we were, I think, 2 years ago. So we knew something of him, and we knew that they were going to try and get him the ball and get him going. But at the same time, looking at their game plan, Bill O'Brien's a great coach, and he had a great game plan set up. So I kind of figured, and we kind of figured as a defense, they were going to try and throw deep balls and kind of just get their passing game going so that they could run their run game a lot better. But I think overall we expected most of the plays, big plays, to come from deep throws.
Youngstown State, what are you expecting from them? This is the third year in a row you guys have seen the Penguins.
Yeah, we're expecting a tough game. I mean, they just came off of a big win their first week, so we expect them to come in and just try and beat the snot out of us, but we're here to stop that and just play our game.
Is there enough carryover, either personnel-wise, scheme-wise, that you're anticipating for them this year?
I think they lost a few pieces up front and also just overall in the team, so I think they're in the same situation as us with a few of their pieces being gone, so it'll be an even matchup, but I think overall they do have some carryover from Boston College and stuff, and it's just we have to go in and play our game.
And for you, Kevin, as far as your rehab and recovery, how much are you cherishing this season, having lost such a big chunk of last year?
It's definitely weighing a toll on me. I definitely didn't think it was going to affect me emotionally and anything like that, but it's one of my last seasons. I know I have another year of eligibility, and it's just when it comes down to it, you think you were playing high school football last year, but it's coming down to an end, so just got to cherish every moment.
And sort of to that point, does it motivate you all the more to take every practice, every workout as seriously as possible? Because even though you do have one more year, you can kind of see the finish line in the
Yeah, I do think that I can see the end of things. I can see that stuff coming, because at the end of the day, you can only play this game so long. But overall, I just take it day by day, go in and do what I do, and hope for healthy seasons, healthy practices, and just try and do what I can.
Well, it's great to see you back out there again. Look forward to covering you all season long. Best of luck against Youngstown State, and we'll see you against the NEC competition as well.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Kurzinger, defensive lineman for the Duquesne Dukes. When we come back, we'll go behind the numbers. That's on the way next. Again, Kevin, brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools. It's time to look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. Duquesne has been picked to repeat as NEC champions in the league's preseason coaches poll. This marks the 14th straight season that the Dukes have been ranked in the top 3, with at least one first-place vote in 13 of the last 14 preseason polls. 6 Dukes have been named to the All-Northeast Conference football preseason team. Toledo and Boston College were the 10th and 11th FBS opponents in the program's history, and it was the 5th time since 2018 that Duquesne has played 2 FBS teams in one season. It was just the 2nd time in program history that the Dukes opened the season against consecutive FBS teams, and they were one of 12 FCS teams to play an FBS team in both weeks 1 and 2. Sophomore defensive lineman Jack Dunkley is tied for 2nd in the NEC in sacks after 2 games, with 1 in each of the first 2 outings. Dunkley had a strip sack against Boston College last week, forcing the first Duquesne turnover of the 2024 season. Quarterback Darius Parentis' touchdown pass at Toledo put him 2 touchdowns away from 5th all-time at Duquesne in career touchdown passes with 45. Also moving toward a top spot in the record books is place kicker Brian Brunswitz. Brunswitz made a 22-yard field goal at Toledo, his 32nd career field goal, which ranks 3rd all-time at Duquesne. Conference play will begin on October the 5th as Duquesne hosts LIU at Rooney Field during homecoming and family weekend. That was a look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. On Saturday, September 14th, the Duquesne Dukes travel to Youngstown State to wrap up a 3-game road trip to begin the season. Kickoff is scheduled for 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus and Fox Sports Pittsburgh Radio. For more game day information and a full 2024 schedule, visit GoDuquesne.com. This Road Ahead segment is brought to you by Dean Honda. Dean Honda, visit them on Route 51 in Pleasant Hills or at DeanHonda.com.